I want to talk about the situation with Mahmoud Khalil. He is currently being prosecuted by the right for, checks note, free speech they don't like. And they keep trying to frame it as if he engaged in terrorist action, which is why it's okay for him to get deported, when in reality, they have no proof of him engaging in terrorist activity. They have proof of him engaging in protesting. They have proof of him using his free speech. That is not engaging in terrorist activity. Engaging in terrorist activity refers to something very specific. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And this really is a you are here now. And if you do not fight like hell to make sure that people like Mahmoud are treated fairly, we will become a fascistic dictatorial state. I can try and sit here and find the exact phrasing on like who is what grounds you're allowed to deport someone on. You cannot be prosecuted or deported for speech unless that speech is explicitly inciting terrorist activity. But his speech was not explicitly citing terrorist activity. Our free speech in America is so like insane that you can hold a neo-Nazi rally. This was one of the most important free speech cases that the Supreme Court had to judge, but basically whether or not neo-Nazis were allowed to parade. And guess what? The court said, yeah, it's fine that you're going around and saying that you want a whites-only state. That's fine if you want to do that. We, the government, have dictated that it's fine because you're just using your right to free speech on what you want. So this idea that he is committing terrorist activity by promoting Palestinian freedom it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. But again, it's neither here nor there because none of these people actually care about free speech. They don't. They care about getting what they want. And currently what they want is to kick him out of the country. So we don't need to fight them on what the laws are. We need to say, no, that's insane. I don't want to live in a fascistic dictatorial state where you are kicked out of a country for saying something. Not, again, committing activities that are harming people, but saying something. I want to treat everyone who is either a citizen or soon to be citizen with the same level of respect when it comes to free speech. Who's Mahmoud Khalil? I believe he was a student at Columbia University who was organizing and helping organize pro-Palestinian protests. He was arrested and detained for at least 5 days without any due process. And here's the thing. Let's say for a second, this is my other big problem with the right-wingers nowadays. Even if you're like, well, whatever, I don't care. I want a fascistic country where we kick people out for saying the wrong things. Fucking crazy, dude. That's an insane thing. But sure, let's go with you for a second. Let's see where this takes us. Doesn't he have a right to speak to his fucking lawyers? You don't think you have you think we should just grab people, throw them in fucking cells, and if we never hear from them again, that's fine? That's a good system to you? Who do you think is next, you idiot? Do you think they're just going to stop at green card holders? Are you that delusional? Are you that stupid? You think that they're going to stop at green card holders and they won't eventually come after you for saying the wrong shit? And they won't throw you in a fucking brig and say, yeah, we'll deal with your due process later. What do you think happens after that? Even if you think that he should be kicked out, you cannot defend that he was not allowed to contact anyone or lawyers or like, again, anyone for 5 days. Leopard eating face party? Yeah. The guy who arrests him, one of the guys, is wearing a fucking Marvel shirt. It's an overgrown man-child putting him in cuffs with a fucking Marvel shirt. Oh my God. Again, this is like, this goes back to, you know, looking around and who's in your party, at who's on your side, and then reevaluating. You should be constantly doing that. You should be constantly taking a look around you and reevaluating to make sure that you haven't lost it. If you're at the point where you're rooting for the guy wearing the Marvel shirt, putting this guy in handcuffs, you really, really need to reevaluate, man. It's just not good. It's just not good. They're also not allowed to cover their faces. In Cincinnati, we have a couple of white supremacists who wear masks and carrying guns protected by the police. Yeah, my biggest issue with that is that there's no, why are these cops having their faces blurred? We should know the names of the people who are handcuffing these people to make sure that they aren't just, you know, following orders and that they are held accountable to the law. The only reason that Derek Chauvin is in prison is because we knew what his face looked like, so we could metaphorically hold his feet to the fire and make sure that he had consequences for his actions by the law. In a court case, courthouse. It is very important for these people to be identified so that they can be punished by the law for unlawful action. Or at the very least, we can find out the supervisors that caused this to happen in the first place. Who censored the video? I'm not sure. All I know is that the video that ended up being released was censored.
What? You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay, let's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand. He's not resisting.
Put your arm around. Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry about it.
Like, I'm not joking. It's actually disgusting that these people's faces are censored so that they can't be held accountable to the law. It's actually disgusting.
No one's resisting, no one's getting worked up.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that. Habibi, كيف بدي أتصل فيك?
Call Amy.
Okay. Hi, Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. Then what should I do? I don't know. Nor. Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Go over there. Well, we don't give our name.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
They'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally like running away from me.
What the fuck is this? Am I supposed to believe this isn't Gestapo nonsense? This isn't Gestapo bullshit? For the record, she's also 8 months pregnant. And she's a U.S. citizen, from my understanding. I don't care if you think that he should be deported. I don't care if you're like, yeah, well, we have enough criminals in our country. We need to round up all these immigrants I don't like and send them out. Okay, fine, whatever. You're a fucking idiot. Let's go with that.
Plainclothes agents with no ID grabbing a permanent resident and shoving him in an unmarked van seems good.
That's bad. That's bad. People should have access. You should be able to know where this person is getting taken. People should be able to fight for their fucking rights. Why are you comparing our country to other countries with fascistic dictatorships and being like, yeah, well, they do it in these countries. Do you want your country to be like that? Do you want your country to be like that? You want a country where people can just get disappeared because other people think it's a good thing and you have no due process. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck? No names, no reason for the arrest. No information. And it's so funny because all the people defending this will be like, leftists love communism. Yeah, why don't you tell that to Stalin? And it's like, you're why are you doing that? What is happening? What is happening? I'm in awe. I'm just in awe. You should not be defending this. You should not be defending this. If you care at all about your country not becoming a shithole, a fascistic shithole, you should never be defending this. Thankfully, we do know where he was taken now, but given it's Jenna Detention Center in Louisiana, it's far from good news given the history of abuse. Yeah. She should not have to fight that hard to get any information. She should be given all of that information. We shouldn't have this system where we're just like, yeah, well, we're fucking black bagging you now. Okay. When your country's disappearing people, you're fucked if you don't stand up like now. It doesn't matter that he is a green card holder. What matters is that he is on the path to citizenship. He is a person in our country. We should treat all of the people in our country fairly. They should be given due process. Let's see. I'm sure every free speech defender is really against this, right, guys? Ha ha ha. Right?
One of the top defenders of free speech. There's speech I don't like, there's speech you don't like, but if we can't agree that there is a difference between speech and violence, we're not going to be able to have a free state, let alone a free country. There's a big part of the left, and it's growing, that says that it is incumbent to protect the campus from ideas that are dissenting, and everyone who dissents must be thrown off.
That's what right-wing propagandist Ben Shapiro once said about free speech. If we can't agree that there's a difference between speech and violence, we're not going to be able to have a free country. But fast forward to today, and Ben Shapiro has changed his tune. And I say this because Mahmoud Khalil, one of the organizers of the anti-genocide protests at Columbia University, was detained by ICE. And his own attorney didn't even know which facility he was taken to. Turns out he was transported across the country to a detention center in Louisiana, and he's now facing deportation even though he is a green card holder because he dared to condemn his university's complicity with Israel's genocide in Gaza. Now, the Trump administration admitted that they're not even charging him with the crime, so he literally faces deportation because he dared to express speech that they didn't like. The First Amendment is supposed to protect people from situations like these. But apparently, we've now crossed the Rubicon, and the Constitution is no longer in effect. We're officially entering authoritarian territory, and Mahmoud Khalil's fate will determine the future of free speech in America. This is a test case, as Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib put it. So this is the free speech issue of our generation. So, of course, Ben Shapiro, dubbed the top defender of free speech, or one of the top defenders of free speech at least, by Laura Ingraham, is definitely going to defend Mahmoud's right to free speech, even though he disagrees with him, right? Wrong. In response to Mahmoud's wife complaining about how her husband was effectively kidnapped by the U.S. government, Ben Shapiro responded saying, "No, you see, kidnapping is what Hamas does. You remember, it's the thing Mahmoud Khalil celebrates." Now, first and foremost, Mahmoud Khalil isn't pro-Hamas, he's pro-Palestinian, and doesn't think that the eradication of Gaza's entire population is a proportional punishment for Hamas's attack on October 7th.
But also the thing is, American free speech means you're allowed to like whoever you want to like, and that's protected free speech. So not only did he not endorse Hamas, but even if he did, that would still be protected free speech. You can get on the street and say that you love Putin. You can get on the street and say that you love Kim Jong-un. You can get on the street and say you love every dictator that's ever existed and killed tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. You can get on the street and say you love Al-Qaeda if you want to. You can like whatever you want and say that you like whatever you want. There is a massive difference between saying that you like X, Y, and Z. I mean, fucking Kanye West got on Alex Jones' show and talked about how much he loves Hitler. You are allowed to because it is protected free speech. Because in the general position that America has held for centuries now, it's better to allow people to endorse whatever they want, even if it's bad, because the concern is that if you remove some free speech, you end up with situations like this. Actually, if you say, I love Putin, I heard you get added to Trump's cabinet. Okay, that's true, actually. All right. That's actually true. You can endorse and say that you like any group of people that you want. That's why there's no punishment to saying free Luigi. That's why Bill Burr gets on his show and says free Luigi. That guy did allegedly assassinate someone. And guess what? Bill Burr will not be punished because of free speech. So, first of all, he didn't endorse Hamas. But second, and I've seen people try and pull this one clip where he talks about armed resistance, which is, it's so pathetic because it's unbelievably disingenuous. Because again, everyone who wants to, people on the right generally, they want to punish trying to find the exact words here so I'm accurate with my phrasing. They only care about the goals. They only care about the end. They don't care about the means. So they're defending all this other stuff by saying, yeah, well, here he is saying something about armed resistance, which is so pathetic because it shows a total misunderstanding about generally armed conflict across the globe over the past however many centuries. But we're not going to get to in the nitty gritty here because it's such a moot point, because at the end of the day, you should not be prosecuted without due process. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter if you are a citizen or not. The second you open the door for non-citizens to get black-bagged and thrown in vans, you know what the next step is? Throwing whoever you want in a van. That's what the next step is, you fucking shit for brains. That's the next step. Oh my God. Assassinations are usually used for political figures, corporate healthcare overlords. I mean, this has always been, at the very least, it's been for a long time an oligarchy. Stingy Californian, thank you for the 33 months.
7th. But even if he was explicitly pro-Hamas, guess what? That is still protected speech under the U.S. Constitution. Ben should know this as one of the top free speech defenders in the country. As Ben put it, if we can't agree that there's a difference between speech and violence, we're not going to be able to have a free country. And since we can't agree on that difference, I guess we're not going to be able to have a free country. And by his own logic, the U.S. would be justified in kidnapping him, since Israel, the country that Ben Shapiro supports, has kidnapped approximately 9,000 Palestinian hostages, including hundreds of children. Now, if a Democratic president chose to jail Ben Shapiro and justified it by citing his support for the IDF, which is a terrorist organization, I would condemn that.
Also, like, I'm sorry. I can't believe I have to do the shoe on the other foot conversation right now. But like conservatives, if you really want to go down this path, Trump's approval rating it's dropping fast, and it will continue dropping because his policies are unpopular. People think that they're good, but they think that they're good the same way that they think Medicare for all is bad until they're explained you would keep your healthcare provider, costs would go down, medication prices would go down, you could visit hospitals, ER, your doctor more frequently, and it would all be funded. And then they think it's good. So, like, people think Trump is good until they realize that the egg prices are still going up. And they realize they lost their jobs in the government. And they realize veterans aren't protected anymore. And they realize he's good until people realize the policies impact them negatively. And then he's not so good anymore, which is what's going to happen. Because, again, his policies are not popular when you actually explain to people what the policy would do. Moving on. What do you think will happen when a Democrat is in power? Do you think that when Democrats are in power, do you think that they should be able to black bag you for using free speech that they don't like? Well, you're talking about how much you're defending Hitler, and you're saying, like in Amarant's words, he just went too far. Well, that's basically defending Hitler, which is basically defending terrorism, which is basically a crime, which is basically the same as committing the terrorist action yourself. So time to black bag you. That's the world you want to live in. You think that's a good world to live in? So we can black bag anti-vaxxers when we're in power? I mean, that's what you're saying. I don't care. We have enough shitty people in this country. I'm sorry, like the fucking lady that walks into the Trader Joe's and coughs on the fucking employees and says, "I'm not wearing a mask, you sheeple." I'm supposed to believe that that's not bordering on fucking terrorism? That's not a fucking bioterrorist trying to kill people? Okay, so according to conservatives, when you're in power, you're allowed to black bag and arrest whoever you want without charging them with anything and not let them speak to their lawyers because you decided you didn't like that. Okay. All right. I mean, you're setting the standard, guys. You're setting the standard.
Because I actually care about free speech, even if it's speech that I disagree with. And I care about Ben Shapiro's free speech, right? It's not because I like hearing fascistic genocide apologia, but on principle, and admittedly, out of self-interest. If the government can censor Ben Shapiro, I know that they'll be able to censor me too. So this is why we all should care about free speech. But since Ben Shapiro doesn't actually care about free speech, he's pretending like this isn't actually a free speech issue at all, even though by his own tacit admission, it's clear that this very much is. So on Facebook, he writes, Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil was the first to be arrested by Homeland Security agents for his participation in pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus, which, by the way, is not a crime. This is protected speech under the First Amendment, even if you don't like it.
The worst part about this is, like, you can't even absolve Ben Shapiro of any of this, because you can absolve Asmongold of a lot of things because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He just kind of pretends like he knows what he's talking about and then, like, does the, oh my God, face, you know, the one in the thumbnails. And then people are like, oh my God, I love this so much. Yes, yes. He was spitting when he said that, when he said, oh my God. But the thing with Ben Shapiro is the guy's a fucking lawyer. He knows that this is protected free speech, and he's fucking lying. He's fucking lying, dude. He is a fucking weaselly little fucking liar, dude.
He continues, President Trump vowed he would not be the last. The media is trying to spin this as an attack on free speech, but this isn't about protesting. It's about aiding and abetting terrorist sympathizers on American soil. Okay, so that's how Ben Shapiro is trying to justify his bullshit position. He's twisting himself into a pretzel to make it seem like this isn't actually a free speech issue when he knows that it is, hence why he's coming up with this bullshit justification. And to this claim that Mahmoud has provided material support to Hamas, that's just not true. The government has provided zero evidence that this is the case, nor have they charged him with the crime. If he did do that, then they would have already charged him. But since they haven't, that goes to show you that they're simply detaining him because they don't like what he said. And by Ben Shapiro's own logic, he himself is also aiding and abetting terrorists on American soil. He has explicitly expressed support for Benjamin Netanyahu, a modern-day Hitler who's wanted by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. He thinks that he should have free speech to support terrorism, but he doesn't think that Mahmoud should have the freedom to condemn Netanyahu's terrorism. See, you get free speech if you want to support a genocide, but you don't get free speech to condemn genocide by Ben Shapiro standards, the supposed top defender of free speech. But he's not a hypocrite, guys, because you see, it's totally not a free speech issue. In fact, everybody who's calling him a hypocrite, they're the real hypocrites, because in a hypothetical scenario that he made up in his head, we would probably be as unprincipled as him.
And we all know, by the way, that if this person had been on campus handing out, as an immigrant, handing out Ku Klux Klan flyers, that person would be deported and there wouldn't be anybody batting an eye. We all know this to be the fact. It is only that there are certain subgroups in the United States, particularly on the left, who are seen as too successful to be determined as quote-unquote minority groups. That's what's going on here. So another...
Just more lying. I think when you find out that the creator that you like has to actively lie to you to keep your support, you should really reevaluate whether or not they respect you as a person. Because if you don't even respect your audience enough to tell them the truth, you're a real piece of shit, man. You're such a piece of shit.
Another win for the Trump administration.
First of all, it wouldn't be illegal because that would also be protected speech. Second of all, you don't get a pass for hypocrisy if you think that your political opponents would be equally inconsistent in your made-up scenario. You are the free speech guy, right? You're the facts don't care about your feelings guy, and yet you've morphed into the SJW that you've destroyed on college campuses. You are openly supporting censorship just because you disagree with the person who's being censored. Just own it. Stop trying to spin it. Just own it and admit that you don't care about free speech. See, this is a test where you can prove to us that you're serious about free speech, but you're failing that test, Ben. But to be fair, he's not the only shameless hypocrite, because so many right-wingers are proudly demonstrating that they don't give a fuck about the First Amendment or even the principle of free speech. See, when they said free speech, what they meant was that they wanted to be able to say slurs and racist things and not get banned from social.
I mean, it's the Emma Vigeland comment. They want free speech so they can say slurs. They don't, guys. You have to sorry. Whoa, slow down for a second. You have to understand something very important. None of these people actually believe any of these things that they're claiming to believe. They don't care about anything. They care about obtaining results. Don't push them on free speech. Don't tell them, well, if you're in support of free speech, you should do that. No, because they don't care about free speech. You should point out that they are hypocrites and say, you just want to be able to deport the people you don't like. They met your threshold. You don't like them. So I'm sure you'll be fine with us being in power and deporting all the people we don't like when they say things we don't like, because it's close enough to terrorist activity. They don't care. They don't have principles. They have things that they want, and they do everything that they can to obtain those ends.
Social media platforms and not receive any criticism for saying said slurs. But in their twisted world, if you use your speech to condemn their bigotry and racism or criticize them, see, that is a violation of free speech. That's the start and end of their concern about free speech. Literally. That's it. I'm not being hyperbolic. That is literally all they care about when they say that they care about free speech. But if the government literally abducts a permanent resident for speech that they disagree with, well, that's not actually a free speech issue because, they disagree with him. Makes perfect sense, right? Maybe they'd be more sympathetic towards Mahmoud if he said slurs. That's the only free speech issue that seems to galvanize them. But
I promise you, if he went on and said, like, I love the January 6th insurrectionists, these people are heroes or whatever, we should do more of this, they would be defending him to the death.
I want to talk about another free speech warrior who led the charge against censorship, albeit in a video game. I'm, of course, talking about right-wing slop tuber Asmongold, who was very clear about his feeling about censorship, at least when it comes to breasts in a video game. I'm not making this up. So we're going to watch a clip, and Asmongold is going to be the guy at the bottom on the left reacting and agreeing with a creepy cartoon animation that's complaining about a video game developer censoring the breasts of a video game character by subtly changing her outfits. Just watch, and we'll see how passionate he is about free speech in this issue.
Now, many bad actors on Twitter, whether it's regular...
Not this the fucking lolly fucking VTuber. It's so, I can't be the only person that's creeped out and thinks we need to check the hard drive of an adult man using a small anime girl with pigtails as their fucking VTuber model. Dude, it's so weird, dude. It's so weird.
Users, game journalists, or content creators have been using this opportunity to not only justify, but also celebrate these acts of censorship because it fulfills their own agendas. Of course it does. So we have a lot of tweets like this saying, if you actually saw a woman in real life, you'd realize that they actually made the outfit more attractive. First off, projection as usual.
These are, by the way, the same people who like will reply in my tweets and be like, why don't you ever dress normally? Because I look like that. Sorry, this shirt tends to ride up. Let me be more honest for them. Okay, here we go. There we go. That's more honest for them. There we go. Now there's some cleavage showing. Why don't you ever dress normally? Do you go outside? I mean, I know you don't. It's a rhetorical question, but like, if you think this is too obscene, you shouldn't go outside. You might explode if you go outside, actually. Oh my God. Any chips down there? Sorry. I do be accidentally dropping random shit down there. Okay, it's anyone who wears a bra understands this experience, okay? You understand the experience of reaching over for some food and it fucking falls. But it's just so funny. It's just so, oh my God, it's so good, dude. It's so good. It's also, I would feel bad if these people weren't terrible human beings. But like, isn't it really funny? Where is it? Isn't it really funny that this lady insulted the way that I dress? Bricks and glass houses. Oh my God. It's giving grandma's couch that's covered in plastic. It's giving, actually my mom used to roast the shit out of me where I would wear certain things that she'd be like, that looks hideous. You're not wearing that in front of our fucking guests. And she'd be like, you look like a curtain. You look like you're wearing a fucking curtain. Take that off. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Jeez. All right. Jeez. My bad. Fuck, dude. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Oh.
But here's the thing, okay? They're trying to say that this is actually better. Adding the black lace here behind the outfit is making it more attractive. First of all, that's your subjective opinion.
It's just, yeah, okay.
People will agree with you, some people will disagree. While that is a subjective opinion, here is an objective fact. They advertised this game as something that was uncensored. Why are you intentionally missing the point so much to the point where you're celebrating these changes? These changes that go
because the changes align with their worldview. That's the
worldview that cleavage should be protected by a tiny bit of lace. You're gonna posit that that's people's worldview. The other thing that doesn't make any sense is like, it was the people who made the original designs in the first place that chose to change them of their own volition. They had to speak out on this and say, no, we just wanted to change those outfits. We thought this looked better. And the thing is, the game still has like 500 outfits of her in a bikini. They just thought this one looked better. That's it. That's literally it. If it was about censorship, they would have censored all the other bikini outfits. But they didn't censor those because it was, again, just a stylistic choice from the person who fucking made the designs in the first place. From the people who made the designs in the first place. But like, I'm trying to see if I can find some of these outfits, maybe. There's a really good post of them. Where? It's also really funny because if you know any normal people, you know that these people look crazy. The people who defended this, who were like, who defended that this was a censored woke thing. Well, there's a YouTube video with all 74 outfits. Bless you, YouTuber. The game kept in all of these other outfits, by the way. This one was still in the game. This was still in the game. You could stream this, by the way. This one is still in the game. God damn. All right. This is still in the game. I'm trying to find, whoa! This must be the woke mob. This one was the woke mob for sure. This one, oh my God, it's woke. Look, the teddy bear was rainbow. Someone quick call Chaya Chaychik, whatever her name is. Someone quick, please. This is still in the game. Here, this is the one I was looking for. If you think that this game is being censored, why would they keep all of these other outfits in the game, you fucking idiots? Why would they keep all of these still in the game? That doesn't even make any sense, dude. These are still in the game. Jeez, I'm gonna make me act up, dude. There was one other one that's like actually really nice. It was really funny. They got mad because this one was censored as well, where they added a little piece of cloth here in the middle. They were like, you made it woke. You made this skin woke by adding a tiny piece of fabric here. It's like, no, they thought it looked better. That's why they added it. It was a stylistic decision. That's why they added it. There's plenty of other ones where you can see mid-boob, I guess would be the title, mid-boob. Okay, I think that's basically all of them. They made the outfit structurally sound for cosplayers. Exactly, dude. Exactly. It's just that these people don't have, again, these are the same people that think that museums should just be marble sculptures and nothing else. They don't understand art. They think art is the thing that makes them happy and nothing else. So they don't understand how the creators or like the artists in this game were like looking at some of the designs and said, no, I think this outfit does look better. It looks better with this. Actually, this looks better with this. The other funny thing is, like, I have normie friends that are internet degen gamers, and they're very much so just, I'm just a normal person. I'm just here. I'm just a normal person. That like I've had conversations with some friends about like non-binary people, and they're like, I don't get it. Why are they just, I feel like they're doing it for attention. I'm like, well, no, they just kind of don't feel like a man or a woman. They're like, well, so? Well, that's just how they feel. Like they just don't feel like yeah, but who cares? Just be one or the other. I mean, I don't really feel like a man or woman. I'm like, okay. I just don't understand. I feel like they're making it really complicated for no reason. This type of friend, I have friends like these. They're well-meaning friends, but like, again, they're, yeah, let's explore that now. They're very much so normie coded, right? And they saw this, they bought Stellar Blade because they wanted to play Stellar Blade, and they were like, why the fuck am I seeing people mad about this? There's a billion skins where she looks sexy as fuck. What are people mad about? They're just mad for no reason. They're just doing it to make money, 100%. There's no way. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Friends that think that the left sometimes goes too crazy saw this and thought it was very blatant outrage farming. That should tell you everything you need to know. And if you were actually upset by this for even a moment, you are way too online. Like, actually, you're way too online.
The reason why. Here's the reason why people care. It's because they're having their content changed to appeal to a group of people that are not them. Of course people are going to get mad about this.
But in the replies, someone corrected him and said it's not about sexy outfits, it's about censorship. He says, but complaining about seeing 40% titty instead of 50% titty is some incredibly weirdo shit to complain about. Like, you couldn't waterboard that info out of me.
Well, isn't it some incredibly weirdo shit to change? I mean, like, I think, again, like any argument that these people make.
If you are the artist on this team that made the original skin and thought, no, actually, I think the skin did look better with this fabric over here, that's not censorship. That's an artistic decision from the artist to change something they wanted to change.
Can immediately be reflected on them. Like, yeah, 10%'s a lot. It is.
Yeah, I mean, seeing 10% less titty in a video game is the censorship issue of our time, so much so that a petition to show more in-game titty reached almost 100,000 signatures on change.org, and one of the top comments on Asmongold's video encouraged people to sign that petition to, quote, save the titties. And during this time, Asmongold took a very principled position on censorship more broadly, saying that even if he disagreed with a video game journalist calling people like him weird little freaks for even caring this much about this, he didn't think that they should be fired simply for having a different opinion.
I think that everybody should be able to have an opinion, and if you disagree with the opinion, the free marketplace of ideas is the greatest thing that our culture has. And I don't want to see people get fired for having an unpopular opinion. I want to see them defeated in the free marketplace of ideas like they have been.
So as you can see, he was pretty clear, pretty consistent, and credit to him for that stance. Now, this was in reference to the private sector, so the First Amendment doesn't necessarily apply in that instance, but if he was this sensitive to supposed censorship in a video game, one would think that he'd be even more outraged at censorship from the federal government, since that doesn't just violate the principle of free speech he cares so much about, it violates the First Amendment, which outlines the principles he presumably believes that the rest of society should follow. But I'm sure that you know where this is going, because Asmongold weighed in on Mahmoud's unconstitutional detention and...
Excuse me, ma'am, would you sign our petition? We're trying to free the Tiggle Biddy committee, okay? Please. Please, ma'am. Please. Dude, I can't believe I had gotten canceled at one point for saying I want bigger titties, dude. What the hell? Remember when that happened? So much for free speech warriors, dude. Just one more signature, sir. Please. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Also, yeah, it's a fucking, nobody got fired for that, and it's a private corporation. They can make whatever decisions they want. It's not your game, idiot. It's somebody else's game. They can make whatever decisions they want. Yeah, well, we won't buy it. Okay, great. A lot of games in the past, I would say 5 years, have done really well that all of these people thought were going to be bad. So I have no words, man. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic.
Potential deportation, and all of a sudden the free speech principles that he espoused when it came to titties didn't apply to Mahmoud Khalil. In fact, he was stoked about it.
Hard.
If this person isn't a citizen and you're supporting terrorist groups and you're not a citizen, get the fuck out of the country. Get the fuck out. It is a privilege to be here as a non-citizen. It's not a right. It's a privilege. Get the fuck out. It's that simple. He had a green card? Not anymore. Yeah, I completely support this. Absolutely 100%. This isn't just freedom of speech, right? This is a person coming from another country into our country to agitate unrest.
So it's okay to black bag them and throw them in a van? Not tell them what crime they're charged with? Just if you're in power and you don't like what someone says and you think it's bordering on terrorist activity, you just can black bag them and fucking throw them in the van? Not let them speak to a lawyer for 5 days straight. That's good? That's good for you? All right. Sure. Sure, man. Whatever you say.
In the best interest of a literal terrorist organization and commit crimes, and we're supposed to act like this person shouldn't be immediately fucking deported? I hope they do this to more of them. Supporting a person who's part of a group that is an advocate of terrorism. This is a very, very unpopular position to have.
Oh, okay. Well, you know.
Our free speech defends neo-Nazis that cheer about fucking Hitler. The people in your chat who write W Hitler, our fucking free speech protects those people. That's how it works. That's how free speech works. There's a massive difference between saying you support X, Y, or Z and actually doing any terrorist activities. There's a massive difference between those things. Oh my God.
Oh, you said it's unpopular, so I guess that justifies his deportation. Except, isn't that the whole point of free speech? To protect people's right to express themselves, even if their opinions are unpopular? I mean, the First Amendment is intended to protect all speech, but especially unpopular speech, because nobody's going to have an issue with popular speech. You're not going to go to jail or be criticized for saying that ice cream is delicious. But what happened to defeating people in the marketplace of ideas, Asman? Why doesn't that courtesy extend to Khalil? Well, you know, the government says that he supports a terrorist organization, so I guess it must be true. It's not like the government has a reason to lie about this since they're the ones funding the genocide he's protesting, so might as well believe them. It's just, it's comical. Maybe this unwashed, rat-faced Neanderthal would actually care about Mahmoud's plight if the government detained him for drawing an anime girl that showed a little bit too much skin. Maybe then he'd rally his 3 million subscribers on YouTube to take action and sign a petition or something. It's so pathetic. But we're not done, because Representative Dan...
You can't advocate for terrorist organizations and live in a democratic society. You can just go live in a place which endorses your view. Hamas, are you blind? But the thing is, you can. Neo-Nazis are legally allowed to protest in favor of Hitler today. They are allowed right now, today, in America, to protest about how much they would love for a white ethno-state. Proud Boys march and say this shit all the time. You are literally allowed to do this. That's still legal. This is legal. That is legal, protected, free speech. They are not prosecuted as terrorists because they didn't do a terrorist organization. You can get on and say that you love anything. And you can protest that you love X, Y, or Z. That's protected free speech. He's from Syria. He shouldn't come to the US and endorse terrorism. Why? This is a made-up argument that you just invented in your head. Your source is a crack pipe. This is an emotional argument that you're making. There's no basis in this. You're just saying, well, I don't like that he did this. I want him to leave. Sorry, but wanting things to happen isn't a good enough reason for them to happen. It is different for a citizen and an immigrant. No. You can be deported for terrorist action, not for endorsing terrorists. That doesn't get you deported. It's not emotional. It's against national security interests. You know, the FBI currently only considers white nationalist organizations a serious threat in terms of domestic terrorism. You're crying about something that our government doesn't take seriously, that they don't consider pro-Palestinian protesters to be a domestic threat. Like a serious domestic threat. Proud Boys, neo-Nazis, they are considered domestic threats, actual domestic threats. You're just wrong. You can read FBI reports on this. You're wrong. $400 million of less funding says they do. Huh? What the fuck are you talking about? I would love to see you go talk to real Hamas and then get murderer by them. LMAO. Don't you have like 8th grade English homework to finish first? Go finish your homework, okay? And then you get murderer by them.
And Crenshaw also purported to be a big free speech defender himself. In fact, he proudly shared this clip from his appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast to his personal YouTube channel, where he says that even private companies should adhere to the principles of the First Amendment.
I do think you have an American obligation to actually adhere to free speech standards and to adhere to the same standards the government adheres to, which is your speech is not protected if it incites violence directly. It's a pretty clear standard.
Yes.
Everything else is entirely vague and only leads to a slippery slope.
Yeah, but apparently being against a genocide is a bridge too far. And I say this because, of course, Dan Crenshaw was defending Mahmoud's detention on Piers Morgan, but thankfully Mehdi Hassan was there to explain to him.
I mean, it's kind of crazy you advocate for people to endorse these monsters, but they would beat you for hours for wearing the top you have on. Kind of a joke. You know I'm Arab, right? You know I've been to Arab countries and I've worn exactly this. And do you want to know what happened? Nothing. They didn't beat me for hours, you shit for brains. I've been to the Muslim Sharia countries and I've worn this exact outfit. And you know what happened? They didn't beat me for hours, you fucking American moron. I'm sorry that you never left fucking Alabama or wherever the fuck you are, wherever the fuck you come from, but that's not what's happening here. You're making more shit up. Again, you're just making shit up. So you think Hamas have a great view of women. You realize that we're so far removed from the original conversation. We're no longer talking about deportations, the thing that you want to talk about. You recognize that. Sorry, I forget. These people can't answer questions. Is that a no or a yes? ... So you think if someone has a bad view of women, they should be genocided? Well, I guess the entire Bible Belt should get genocided, huh? That's a really weird position for you to take, Chatter. Ugh, that's bad.
Why he's dead wrong.
The White House said to the Free Press, Barry Weiss's right-wing Free Press, this week, we are not accusing him of breaking any laws. In fact, if you want to understand the laws, you need to look at the Immigration National Act of 1952. They're actually taking him into deportation proceedings under Section 237A4CI, which allows Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State.
Sorry, last thing from this chatter. So you guys can get an idea of who are the people that are writing this stuff. There is no genocide. That's you splitting from the original conversation. You're splitting from the original conversation, talking about how Hamas should treat me because you don't want to talk about the fact that what he said was protected free speech, for starters. Second, I answered all of your questions. Third, there are no buzzwords being thrown out. Bibi Netanyahu has an arrest warrant out for crimes against humanity, for war crimes, dude. The ICC ruled that there is a genocide. There's no buzzwords here, you idiot. This is not coming from me. This is from the ICC. You want to fight the ICC? You want to fight the ICJ? You think you're smarter than the fucking, the lawyers that they have at the ICJ? You really think that? They didn't rule anything. You know that. They said it's plausible. Not the same thing. Come on, you can do better. Rejects the state of Israel's challenges to jurisdiction, issues warrant for arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. The chamber issued warrants of arrest for two individuals, Benjamin Netanyahu and Mr. Yoav Gallant, for crimes against humanity and war crimes committed from at least October 8th to at least May 20th. Chamber found reasonable grounds to believe that during the relevant time, international humanitarian law related to international armed conflict between Israel and Palestine is applied. This is because Israel occupies at least parts of Palestine. They also found the law related to non-international armed conflict applying to the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Chamber found that the alleged conduct of Mr. Netanyahu and Gallant concerned the activities of Israeli government bodies and armed civilian population in Palestine, more specifically civilians in Gaza. And then, for these reasons, with regard to war crimes, they found it appropriate to issue arrest warrants. And then it talks about the systematic attack on the civilian population. They intentionally and knowingly deprived the civilian population of Gaza of objects indispensable to their survival, including food, water, medicine, and medical supplies, as well as fuel and electricity. And they're in violation of humanitarian law. And here we have the UN body, the UN human rights body, saying that they find Israel's warfare and methods in Gaza consistent with genocide. You're not disagreeing with me, Chatter. You're disagreeing with the United Nations human rights. That's who you're disagreeing. You think you're smarter than all of these people. You're not disagreeing with me. This isn't a matter of opinion. This is a matter of courts finding them in violation of human rights because they attempted and are attempting genocide. You worry so much about Israel defending itself, but you love to announce Hamas bombing, old woman stabbing, raping, baby strangling maniacs as when did I do that, you shit for brains? You invented that. Sourced crack pipe again. I didn't do that, you moron. I said that there's a genocide happening and you said that there isn't one. People like you. Oh, well, people like you love to women, since we're just throwing accusations out there, right? Your brain is made of soup. My reply to genocide is above. It's an insult to people who have actually gone through genocide. Again, you're disagreeing with the UN Special Committee that found Israel's actions were consistent. You're not disagreeing with me. You're telling these people who have dedicated their lives to human rights that they're all wrong, and you know better. That's what you're doing, by the way. That's just so you know. Just so you know. You're telling people who've spent decades of their life to studying human rights violations, to studying genocide, and you're saying, well, I know more than they do. Just so we're on the same page here. Because in your words, you think it's an insult to actual genocide. That's your source. Again, crack pipe. I wish you the best of luck, man. I wish you the best of luck. I really do, man. I really do. But that's also why you don't have to respect the people who say that they, or respect the opinions of people who say that it's okay to deport Mahmoud Khalil, because these people don't think there's a genocide happening, even when the UN says that there is. Like, these people deny reality. You don't have to respect their opinion. Like, I have to pull a Sam Cedar and say, what month are we in? March? Okay, we can agree on that. That's who this is. This is the person who thinks that sort of shit.
To personally deport a migrant because he believes that migrant's presence has serious potential adverse consequences for U.S. foreign policy. That is the obscure act, which, by the way, was designed for Eastern European Jews to get rid of them because they were deemed to be communists in the 1950s. That is what Rubio is using to get rid of a lawful permanent resident. Now, whether that's legal or not, Trump's late sister, Judge Marion Trump Barry, said it was a violation of the First Amendment. We'll see if the Supreme Court gets involved. But the idea that we should live in a country where Marco Rubio or Antony Blinken can remove a green card holder because he doesn't like his views and they're against U.S. foreign policy, some nebulous aim, that's outrageous. And there was a time when the Republican Party would have been against that.
Thank you for making the argument
today,
stronger. You've added to my argument, and I appreciate that. Perhaps you should be defending the Trump administration.
No, I'm pointing out to you that he hasn't broken any laws. He hasn't committed any criminal violence. He hasn't broken any laws. He hasn't broken any laws.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say the Hassan quote. I'm going to control myself. I can control myself, guys.
That law, which Rubio is saying. Dan, let me explain it to you again. That law gives Rubio the power to do it. That doesn't mean Mahmoud Khalil has broken any laws.
And I gave you another law, I referenced another law.
And you're wrong. And you're wrong. The White House disowned you, Dan. And the White House disowned you. The White House said we're not accusing him of law breaking. Your White House, Dan. It's embarrassing for you because the White House disowned you, and you don't know that.
You just quoted Rubio referencing a law, did you not?
No, because you don't understand the law.
What do you mean they're not?
The law gives Rubio, let me say it slowly then. Rubio has the power to remove someone he believes is against U.S. foreign policy. Yes. That is not someone who's broken the law.
Crenshaw's a fucking nightmare to listen to. He gives me really big, like, Jesse Waters vibes in that I wouldn't leave my drink unattended or my tires unattended, because I'd be afraid they'd get slashed. He gives me that kind of vibe.
When I was trying to get Emma to date me, first thing I did, let the air out.
This is him talking about how he won over his wife.
First thing I did, let the air out of her tires. She couldn't go anywhere. She needed a lift. I said, hey, you need a lift? She copped right in the car.
Does she know this story?
No, she doesn't know the story.
Did she watch the show?
Jesse Jr. does.
You're basically the Zodiac Killer.
It has a happy ending.
Really? Yes, we're married. Did you really do that?
Is that the first time you did it, or did you use that before?
It works like a charm.
For anyone who somehow doesn't know who Jesse Waters is, he's like a primetime Fox News anchor. And what I'm saying is, dude, Dan Crenshaw, he gives Jesse Water vibes. He gives, I won't leave my tires unattended in front of him.
That just gives him immigration power. Nobody is suggesting Mahmoud Khalil has broken the law. He hasn't been charged with breaking any law.
I understand.
He was disappeared to Louisiana.
I understand what you're saying.
You say he broke the law. The White House says he didn't. So check with the White House on talking points before you come on TV.
I can have my own opinion on the legal justification for removing this person.
They always care so much about free speech until somebody says something that they disagree with. Then that goes out the window.
Again, they're not principled people. They're not. They are ends-based people. They care about winning. That's all they've ever cared about. And they will use whatever defense they can in the moment to win.
They really are the biggest fucking snowflakes in the country. But, of course, we're not done, because I want to hear from Alan Dershowitz, which is a sentence that I never thought that I would say, so let me rephrase that. We're going to hear from Alan Dershowitz, a Jeffrey Epstein associate and author of Cancel Culture, the latest attack on free speech and due process, to hear his not-so-surprising thoughts on Mahmoud's detention.
Whether or not he has a First Amendment right as a green card holder is one thing, but why should anybody support him? When they supported the right of Nazis to speak in Skokie back in 1977, when I was on the board of the National Civil Liberties Union, nobody supported the Nazis. They all said they were despicable, terrible, terrible people, but maybe they have a right to speak. People should say the same thing about Khalil. He's a despicable...
Which the Skokie case is like, it is, as the term landmark, it's one of the most important cases on free speech in America. It's like the precedent.
despicable, horrible person. He should be kept away from his wife and his baby the way he kept Israelis away from supported Hamas killing children, killing babies. He's not somebody who should be admired or supported. And yet too many people have not only supported his right to speak, but supported the despicable content.
You're just wrong. You're just wrong. That's a lie. You can't promote terrorism. Support of terrorism isn't free speech. You're wrong. It is. It is protected free speech. You can absolutely grab a soapbox, get on your street and talk about how much you love X, Y, or Z terrorist group. You can go right now to your fucking town center, wherever, as long as it's a public space, and talk about how much you love MS-13. No one can stop you. That is your protected free speech. It's just true. That's just your, it's just literally accurate. If you don't like the way America is ran, why do they come? Why are you in America? Because I was born here? I don't fucking know, dude. Because I only have citizenship in America? What the hell are you talking about? Why not go to a place you agree with the culture? Let me go get citizenship somewhere else somehow? I'm sorry, what do you think this strategy is? You think I just get on a plane and then go start living somewhere? How do you think this works in your brain? I just go and get citizenship somewhere else. You know, you can't just like take a flight somewhere and then say, I want to be a citizen here now. They don't just like tell you, oh, okay, here you go, here's citizenship. Yes, you get on a plane. Open the schools. Open the schools. Okay, step one, go on. Please open the schools, dude. Oh, fuck. Did you notice, chat? Do you notice that the second you tell these people that it's protected free speech, they're NPCs, so they only have one thing that they can say, so they say the same line. It's the NPC dialogue. It's like once you hit that line of dialogue in the tree, they say the same thing, which is, oh, you don't like it? Leave. You're not going to talk about anymore about whether or not this guy actually did terrorism because you gave up on that because you realized you were wrong. So now it's just leave. Get a new dialogue tree, man. Come on. Don't oust yourself as an idiot this way. Come on.
Of his speech. So he ought to be treated the way we treat Nazis. We maybe give them the right to free speech, but we certainly despise them, hate them, don't wish them well, and don't express sympathy for them, their wives, or their babies. This is not a man who deserves any sympathy. We may deserve his First Amendment protection so that we can hear him just make his...
Sorry, really quickly. I'm curious, I guess, what the next NPC dialogue is here. If we can't get on a plane and do that, then why should Americans? So let me just ask you a question here. So when Democrats are in power, and let's say we decide that you're not allowed to say that you like Trump anymore because January 6th, insurrection, and we decide that's not good anymore. Can we black bag you and throw you in a van and prosecute you without due process? Because your argument is just you should get the fuck out or we'll deport you because we don't like what you're saying. So you're fine with our government doing that to you when it's our turn to be in power? Is that what you're claiming? Oh, he can't get off this dialogue tree. I'm sorry. I gave the NPC too much credit. Yeah, I'm saying if all you do is complain about America, why are you staying? I'm sorry. I forgot. It's baby brain. He can't. It's too hard for him.
His despicable statements, but he deserves nothing but the most utter contempt.
You catch all that? In case it was a little difficult to follow along, I think I understand what he's saying. So he's saying that, of course, his First Amendment rights as a...
Wait, stop. If all you do is complain about Denims, then why are you staying here? Why are you still here if all you're going to do is disagree? Go somewhere else. If all you're going to do is complain, go somewhere else.
Permanent resident have been violated, but we shouldn't support him. Although, maybe we should support his right to speak, but on the...
Sorry, I can't stop. Laughable. So no response.
Proud of you for dealing these idiots.
So no response. You're doing the thing that you accuse everyone else of doing, where they're staying somewhere that they don't like it just to complain. What was your question? If all you do is complain about Denim Stream, then why are you staying here? I love everything about America. That's why I stay. These people and you hate America. No. Why are you? No, chatter. Why are you staying in the Denim Stream? This stream, not America, this stream. If all you're going to do is complain. Why are you in this chat if you hate everything about it? and all you're doing is complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm honestly asking you that. I'm honestly asking why America has these policies that they have. You're honestly asking. I'm also honestly asking. All you do is complain and say how America is bad. I'm asking you why you do. Why he can't do it? He can't answer the question. Oh my God, he just looped. He looped. He got lost. He hurt himself. And he's like, quick, retreat. Oh my God. I don't even, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? How do you save this? I haven't complained about anything. What's confusing you? You know, we can see all of your chat logs, right? All you're doing is complaining. A complaint definitionally is a reason for dissatisfaction. This is you complaining that the people in here hate America. That's what you're complaining about. You're complaining about us complaining. I asked you why all you do is complain. You answer with, why am I complaining? It makes absolutely zero sense. Oh God. Sorry, I'll finish this up and then we'll get back to the video because this is just kind of boring since we're just looping now. Cheddar, you asked, why complain when you live in a country you should just leave? I said, why are you in here complaining about how much you hate me and everybody else in here instead of just leaving? If you clearly don't like this stream, you clearly don't like the people in here, why are you here? You're literally asking a fascist AI bot that's looping. I know, isn't it sad? I'm not complaining. You are complaining. You can't live in a world where when people criticize America, they're just complaining, but you come into a chat and waste your free time on Saturday morning and say, I'm not complaining, I'm just asking. You have to pick one. Okay, chatter? All right, I'm done looping with this, chatter. You can keep going in like a circle and be like, I'm not complaining, you're complaining. I'm not complaining, you're complaining. Just go for it. You guys can have fun with him.
On the other hand, he should be kept away from his wife and baby, which implies that we shouldn't support his right to speak. And also, too many people are just supporting his right to free speech, although maybe we should give him the right to free speech because we also deserve the same free speech protections. Makes sense. Ellen, I don't think that you understand this. I've got to add this as well. But in the analogy that you're using, you are the Nazis. You're the bad guys. Netanyahu is Hitler, the IDF is the Gestapo, and the Palestinians are the victims of a Holocaust. Mahmoud...
Saying Netanyahu's Hitler is crazy, but there is an arrest warrant out for him, and Israel is being accused with committing actions that are consistent with genocide, so if the shoe fits...
is the one opposing the Nazis. You are the one supporting the Nazis in your analogy. But even when he flips reality on its head, you can tell that he knows that this man's rights have absolutely been violated, but he can't admit that even if he's an attorney and knows that that's the case because he's a hack who doesn't actually give a shit about free speech. But there's more. Ari Fleischer, the White House press secretary under George W. Bush, is a huge defender of free speech, and as a supporter of the invasion of Iraq, you can understand why. That invasion led to a minimum of 1 million Iraqi deaths. Some might even say that that was tantamount to terrorism. So since he vocally supported death and destruction, he knows firsthand how important free speech is. And for his own sake, he wants to make sure that free speech is protected. Even the most unpopular speech is protected, since he himself has espoused speech that is very, very unpopular, to put it mildly. He even accused Facebook of violating the principles of free speech when they were removing posts calling for people to violate social distancing guidelines at the beginning of the pandemic. As for Mahmoud, well, of course, he doesn't support free speech any longer because, well, that's somehow different.
What happened to Mahmoud Khalil had nothing to do with speech. It has everything to do with creating an encampment that is where Zionists are prohibited, where Jewish students are not allowed to walk on their own campus.
Here we see the rare evil bold.
These are crimes. These are deportable events. These are things that we would never tolerate. As for all these people who are now in Trump Tower, I hope that this administration will do what the Biden administration did to the January 6 people who walked inside the Capitol. They have the technology, get their faces, match it up with the database, and if any of them are non-citizens, every one of them is trespassing.
This is why I said, chat, genuinely, if you are not a U.S. citizen, right now is a dangerous time to protest, to even talk on social media, and you should absolutely take care of yourself and your family. Because the fucking fascists in power are saying, hey, fucking grab all these people, check the database, and see if we can get them the fuck out of our country. I'm 100% serious, chat. I'm not joking. And if you are going to go outside, wear some goggles, some sunglasses, and wear a mask. Even if you are a U.S. citizen.
They all should be deported from this country, too.
They are literally incapable of defending their position without lying. Conflating Jewish people with Zionists is itself anti-Semitic. People who aren't Jewish identify as Zionists, like President Biden, who's a Catholic, because Zionism is an ideology, whereas Judaism is an ethnicity and a religion. And some of the protests on college campuses were led by Jewish students. He knows this, but he's leaving that out because he's lying by omission. But after feigning concern for anti-Semitism, what does he do?
Sorry, chat, really quickly. Isn't it kind of sad that, like, and also a little scary that all the people who disagree with me just, like, genuinely want the Palestinians to die and think that there's no genocide? Like, this guy, after he got ignored for too long, he just started, like, speaking more bravely and then said, Palestinians are just as guilty as Hamas. They let Hamas take over. Netanyahu's going to get all of you. Like, isn't it kind of sad? Like, consistently, once they stop getting attention and because they can't understand that they're looping in dialogue, they're like, actually, quick, hit the pro-genocide button quickly. Like, literally, the people who get mad are the pro-genocide people consistently. It's every time. It's actually like, it's crazy that it's every time that there's a chatter that gets too mad, they eventually expose that their ideology, yeah, it's based in hate, and that they don't like anything that is not within their in-group.
He calls for the deportation of Jewish protesters in Trump Tower.
It's the same thing, by the way, with like, what's the word? Sorry. People who come in, they're like, I just don't think trans people should be in sport. You leave them alone for long enough, and then they'll expose that they actually like are massive transphobic pieces of shit. They're like turf Pikmin. Stop.
Who are bravely demanding that Mahmoud be released. Conservatives don't believe in free speech. But moving on, I could show you an old clip of Fox News host Harris Faulkner talking about how important free speech.
This is actually relevant. I don't understand the first. I like this chatter. This is like one of the few people. This is why I always try and give people a little bit of credit. This is one of the few chatters that comes in, asks respectful questions, says they disagree, and then doesn't move on. It doesn't say anything else about that, right? I don't understand the First Amendment completely, but people are saying that Khalil didn't just advocate for Palestinians peacefully. He participated in, quote, terrorist activities, which included distributing flyers about Hamas or radicalizing people to perform violent actions and supporting an organization which currently holds Americans hostage. Correct me if I'm wrong. The thing is, you can currently today, as an American, hand out flyers on the street to people who want them about like how much you love MS-13 and how everyone should love MS-13, and that's still protected free speech. But he didn't do this. This is lies, by the way. Again, you can go on the street and hand out whatever flyers you want. As long as you aren't inciting, organizing a crime. So like saying, hey, we're all going to meet on this day to go kill this person. If you're handing out flyers to say you should support MS-13, that's freedom of speech. That's 100% freedom of speech. Which is beyond the point, though, or besides the point, because he didn't do that. So not only did he not do that, but even if he did this, it's still protected free speech. You can hand out flyers. You just can't incite for specific actions. So again, you can't incite to say, we're going to flood this theater on this day. We're going to go and kill X person. You can't do that. There's a very huge difference between credible threats that are actionable and saying that you love X, Y, and Z.
Speeches, but I don't have to do that before playing this most recent clip of her violating that standard because she contradicts herself in the same thought.
Free Mahmoud, free them all. I'm wondering, Ari, who are they all? And if the world is watching our nation right now and they know us as you know, a bastion of free speech, so on and so forth, when you hate, when people feel under threat because of what you're saying, that's actually not protected speech.
That's right.
And look at some of the signage in here. I mean, they hate Israel. They hate Jewish Americans. They are anti-American.
Their signs say, not in our name, fight Nazis, not students, and opposing fascism is a Jewish tradition. Yet,
Trump is currently trying to label vandalism of Teslas as domestic terrorism. Incredible. Incredible.
Clearly hateful and anti-American, and they probably shouldn't have free speech rights, according to this principled Fox News host. Listen, conservatives do not believe in free speech. And over the course of this video, I've talked about propagandists in new media and old media, politicians, an attorney, a streamer, and across the broad spectrum, you can see that they are all completely full of shit when they say that they support free speech. And trust me, I could do this all day. Here's Dave Rubin supposedly supporting free speech, and here he is opposing it. Here's Marjorie Greene denouncing her ban on Twitter as a violation of her free speech rights, and here she is hoping that charges are pressed against these protesters at Trump Tower. Listen, don't ever let these cretins lecture anyone about free speech ever again. When they say they support free speech, that is a one-way street. They mean free speech exclusively for them and what they think should be protected speech, and none for you. They have no principles. Their goal is to crush us by all means necessary. Hypocrisy is a feature of fascism, not a bug. And don't expect any of these people to feel an ounce of shame when you use their own words against them. They simply don't care. They create new standards for Democrats that they don't apply to themselves. Remember Mitch McConnell's rule that we don't confirm Supreme Court justices in election years, only to then rush through Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation weeks before the 2024 election? Yeah. See, the rules and norms, as well as the Constitution itself, is meant as a restraint for their opposition, not for them, as evidenced by the fact that Trump can apparently unlawfully detain a permanent resident in direct violation of the First Amendment, yet still be championed as a hero of free speech by every dickhead with a podcast. So the next time you hear somebody say that the left is against free speech and the right is for free speech, make them take the Mahmoud Khalil test. It's one of the most effective bullshit detectors.
And make sure you hold their feet to the fire in the future when they pretend to be pro-free speech and point out that this guy didn't do anything wrong and they wanted him deported because they didn't like what he said.
Or had in politics. Because if they say that they support free speech but condone Khalil's arrest, that's proof that they don't actually give a fuck about free speech.
Another one. Oh, is this, did we already play with this food? I don't remember. It isn't free speech to shut down to shut down private buildings. He violated green card terms, not being prosecuted for free speech. No, to violate green card terms is to commit a terrorist action. He didn't commit a terrorist action. Saying you love a terrorist organization is not committing a terrorist action. That is factually untrue. Dude, you shouldn't type like this, man. Because it shows us all where you got your source from, okay? It shows us all that the research you did on this was watching a YouTube video. This guy said he literally objectively did. You guys haven't even looked at green card terms, LOL. Section 237A, 4B, terrorist activities. Don't expose that the knowledge that you have on this topic is watching one Asmongold video, man. Come on, have a little bit of shame, man. Oh my fucking God, dude. It's not good. It's really embarrassing to expose that the only intellect that you have is what Asmongold tells you, dude. Fuck. Here's the thing. I want you to take a deep look inward and realize that Asmongold is fucking lying to you, okay? He's lying to you. Why? Because he has to defend this position. Here, let's watch it together, shall we?
If this guy was an American citizen, I would completely support his right to do this. But he's not.
You don't know anything. No, it does not. What are you talking about?
I don't really know exactly how the law works. This is what I've heard.
Then why did you spend 48 hours worth of content saying, oh my God.
That's it.
And I certainly don't know all of the confines of like, I don't know everything about the fucking immigration law either. Having said that, then why did you spend 48 fucking hours worth of content saying?
Anyway, he spent way more than 48, by the way.
No, it does not. That's the point. You can,
just want to make sure that the context is provided.
You can literally fucking say you love Al-Qaeda, you love the KKK,
yes.
You love Nazis. The government can't fucking deport you over.
Yes, that's true. If you're a citizen.
I don't particularly care about defending whatever the fuck this argument is or attacking whatever the fuck this argument is. I don't care about people saying, I don't know anything or I know anything or whatever. That's stupid.
Listen, Hassan would be right.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
It is also constitutionally protected. He's saying
no.
Context. Under the immigration.
The fucking editor that fucking uses the TTS. It's just so funny to me.
And Nationality Act, any non-citizen, including a green card holder, is subject to deportation if they engage in terrorist activities. These activities include material support like any form of facilitation of the terrorist organization. In the case of Mahmoud...
So they try to claim that Mahmoud Khalil actually supported Hamas, and that's why he should get deported. The problem is that you actually have to prove that that happened. And the proof in question here that they have provided is just saying armed resistance is valid and they called them terrorists. That's not material support. That's not fundraising for Hamas. That's freedom of speech.
Khalil, Hassan is muddying the waters, trying to reframe
It's insane to talk about muddying the waters when you are explicitly muddying the waters.
this individual as just being pro-Palestine. Here are the facts.
So this is the guy that has been detained, is the leader of the CUAD, which was formed after SLP and JVP were suspended for pro-terror activity.
The CU.
It doesn't matter if you are part of an organization or you have shown support for an organization that has blockaded something. You have to engage in the terrorist activity.
CUAD, Columbia University apartheid.
Do you see how many steps removed this is? This is like Mahmoud Khalil is part of this group or supports this group that did this thing, that supported this group, that did this thing that was for terrorism. You have to have something more direct than that to consider it terrorist activities. You can't be 5 steps removed. Everyone is probably fucking 5 steps removed from some nonsense like this.
Yes.
It's insane. It's insane.
Was responsible for this reenactment of Helms.
But they know that their audience is too stupid to actually pause and sit down and think, what is material support? And they want to believe that all these people are crazy because they're on the left. Because it's a convenient narrative to believe.
Deep
but like, don't you have any respect for yourself as like a random chatter that you know that you're being lied to and you just don't care?
Yeah.
And so Khalil openly defends Hamas in the CUAD video on March 2025.
Here's the thing. If you consider this defending Hamas, this is still, it doesn't matter because this is still protected free speech. You can get on, as long as you aren't entering or standing on the podium illegally or whatever, like breaking and entering or something. If you have permission to speak on X, Y, or Z, you can get on and say you love MS-13. That's protected free speech. That is still protected free speech.
We tried armed resistance, which is again legitimate under international
That's
law.
not material support. This is not material support. And because it is not material support, it is not grounds for deportation.
But again, Israel, it is terrorism.
Yes, they're calling it terrorism because you're killing innocent people. CUAD's anti-American stance is clear. Members vowed to...
By that standard, terrorism is killing innocent people. The United States has committed an unbelievable amount of terrorism.
In U.S. imperialism.
Which is also not the word. That's not what terrorism is, by the way. Killing innocent people is not terrorism.
9th, 2025,
Also
the NY
definitionally
Post
wrong.
exposed their goal. This is unbelievable. Eradication of Western civilization. CUAD organized a pro-terror event in...
Okay, anyways, going back, if you see anyone quoting this, by the way, just know that they got their information from this video and they're too lazy to Google it and they want to be lied to. They know that the people who shovel this garbage down their throat are lying to them, but they keep closing their ears and going la 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 because they don't want to believe that they're being lied to and because their narrative is more convenient for them. Do you see how many like hoops they went through to try and prove that this guy was engaging in terrorist activities, which is defined as material support, fundraising, recruitment, or any type of facilitation for a terrorist organization, when in reality, this guy didn't do that. What he did was say that this is this armed conflict, this armed resistance was considered and designated as a terrorist organization. And even if you frame that as he's supporting Hamas, he's saying he likes Hamas, that's still protected free speech, and that is not material support, fundraising, or recruitment. And it's insane that this happens because literally later in this video, Asmongold says that he understands and he doesn't blame Palestinians for supporting Hamas because they are victims of their situation and they view Hamas as being the only people that can help them because they feel abandoned. So he doesn't blame innocent people that happen to be caught in the conflict. And he literally says, I'm not joking, he says, analysis is not justification. Analysis of Hamas members trying to have armed resistance and then getting called terrorist organization, which I agree they are terrorists. That's analysis. not justification, which happens in this very video. Do you see how many steps? Do you see how many steps you have to like take to believe this? Isn't this insane? You have to jump through so many hoops. And because they have no response to anything, this is the only thing that they know how to say. Why are you a terrorist apologizer? Apologizer? It's spelled totally wrong. I just use any brain cells if you're going to respond to me, man. Fuck, come on. How do you know there's no evidence, though? The onus is on the people accusing him of terrorist activity to provide the evidence. I also can't prove a negative. It's not, again, possible to prove a negative. The burden of proof would be on the people like Asmongold saying that this guy committed terrorist activities by showing or acting with material support for this terrorist organization. They would have to prove that. But the only clip that they provided was him providing analysis of Hamas members, not justification, which again, he also does. I mean, Asmongold does that very thing in this video, in that video. Ooh, what is this? DHS official defends Mahmoud Khalil arrest, but offers few details on why it happened.
President Trump has ramped up efforts to deliver on a campaign promise to carry out the largest ever deportation of migrants without legal status in U.S. history. Parallel to that effort is a crackdown on what the administration terms anti-Semitism on college campuses. Last weekend, a former student protest leader was arrested in New York City. Mahmoud Khalil, who has lawful permanent residency, a so-called green card, is being held in a Louisiana detention center. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, says his green card was revoked. A judge ordered that he may not be deported, though, while the court weighs a legal challenge brought by his lawyers. Troy Edgar was just sworn in as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and he is with us now to talk more about this. Good morning. Congratulations on your confirmation and also your return to the department. You served in the first Trump administration as well.
Yeah, good morning, Michelle. Very nice to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. So Mahmoud Khalil says he acted as a spokesperson for pro-Palestinian demonstrators and as a mediator with Columbia University, where he was a graduate student. As you know, Mr. Edgar, any conduct that can be legally sanctioned must be described. So what is the specific conduct the government alleges that Mr. Khalil engaged in that merits removal from the United States?
Yeah, well, I think what you saw there is you've got somebody that has come into the country on a visa, and as he's going through the process of that visa process, he's come in to basically be a student that is not going to be supporting terrorism. So, the issue is that, he was let into the country on this visa. He has been promoting this anti-Semitism activity at the university, and at this point, the state...
Nice and fair coverage here. Anti-Semitism on college campuses. The anti-Semitism in question is Free Palestine. Oh, guys, let's get back to this. I want to hear more from Troy Edgar.
State Department has revoked his visa for supporting that terrorist type organization. And
Troy Edgar, Deputy Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, who defended his arrest on Morning Edition.
Agency, so we've come in to basically arrest him.
Okay, so a White House official told the Free Press that there's no allegation that he broke any laws. So again, I have to ask, what specifically constitute terrorist activity that he was supporting? What exactly do you say he did?
Well, like I said, when you apply for a visa, you go through the process to be able to say that, you're here on a student visa. It doesn't afford you all the rights of coming in and basically going through this process, agitating and supporting Hamas. So at this point, the Secretary of State and the State Department maintains
agitating
the right
and
to
supporting
revoke the visa.
Hamas.
That's what they've done.
So how did he support Hamas? Exactly what did he do?
Oh, a good question.
Well, I think you could see it on TV, right? It's this is somebody that we've invited and allowed.
Appeal to common sense. I mean, just look at the clips. Okay.
We've invited and allowed the student to come into the country, and he's put himself in the middle of the process of basically pro-Palestinian activity. And at this point, like I said, the Secretary of State can review his visa process at any point and revoke it.
Forgive me, he's a permanent resident. He's not a visa holder. He's a legal permanent resident. He has the green card. At least he did.
A green card means that you have a legal permanent resident, for anyone who doesn't know. I mean, she says it, but there is the jump between visa and green card is very big. Visa does not suggest that you will have permanent residency, although some visa holders eventually do successfully obtain green cards. Green cards means you are on the path to naturalization. We only give green cards to people who are on the path to naturalization. We give visas to anyone who will be here temporarily. Green card is you're allowed to be here permanently. There's rules about like how many days you can spend out of the country while you have a green card and all this other stuff that's really fucking annoying to deal with for people who are actively trying to get their citizenship. But yeah, green card means that you are a permanent citizen. You're just a couple steps off of getting your citizenship. And also, the process, sometimes it can be a very lengthy couple of years between green card to citizenship. Just so everyone knows, because you have to have a bunch of interviews and you have to have a bunch of appointments, and then you have to take your citizenship test. And there's a lot of documents, a lot of paperwork, a lot of waiting for your appointments. I've seen instances where it can be like a year if you have a lot of money and a really, really good lawyer to like, I've seen upwards of 10 years with people actively trying and making as many appointments as they can. You know when you go to the DMV and you forget some stupid piece of fucking documentation where they're like, yeah, I'm gonna need 5 pieces of proof of your residence, and then I'm also gonna need a letter of recommendation. And do you have the signature from the landlord from the first apartment you ever leased? Also, do you have like $6,000 on you? Also, I need like at least 7 pieces of lint too. And then you're like, I didn't know I was gonna need all this. I thought this would be simple. I brought what I thought was important. They're like, ooh, you're gonna have to book another appointment. Okay, next. Imagine that, but you just waited for like a month for this interview, and then you find out like you thought you had everything, you prepared everything, you brought everything you thought you needed, and then there was still something that was wrong. And you're like, okay. And they're like, yeah, sorry, next appointment's gonna be in 2 months. And you're like, we can't reschedule this for a little sooner? I can get that document tomorrow. Yeah, no, sorry, we can't. Okay, and like, I don't blame the people who work in these like fucking offices. Like, these people are definitely overworked, and there's definitely not enough people trying to help green card holders for sure. But that is unfortunately how it is. I drove my father-in-law to both of his appointments to get his green card and take his citizenship test about a month ago. It was almost 2 years exactly, and yes, thousands of dollars. Sorry, that lint was from a sweater. We actually need pant lint. Sorry. John Oliver literally said it took him 10 years to become a citizen. Damn. Fuck. Yeah. They're also expensive to keep. My dad pays $500 every year for his. Yeah. Also, thank you, Danger Dave Bell. It took my husband 16 years to become a citizen. Yeah, it's a really time-consuming process, especially if you have a life. Like, if you have a family or a job or kids or multiple of these things, what do you do if, like, which this has happened to, at the very least, it has to have happened to tens of thousands of people at this point. You have your appointment and then you find out that your kid is like sick and he needs to go to the ER now. It's like, well, I guess I have to cancel my appointment. Oh, fuck. Okay, well, I guess the next fucking appointment with DHS is going to be a couple months from now, because I this is more important. This is just more important. I can do that later. It's just going to have to get pushed back. So yeah, this is, you know, you're lucky if it's 2 years. You're lucky. Back to this. She's needling the fuck out of Troy, dude.
That's the green card, at least he did, until it's alleged that it was revoked. So look, if the allegation is that Mr. Khalil organized protests and made speeches after which other people engaged in prohibited activity or, say, violent activity, well, Mr. Trump gave a political speech on January 6, 2021, after which some individuals engaged in violent and illegal acts. How is this any different?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, President Trump's a citizen and president of the United States. This is a person that came in under a visa. And again, the Secretary of State at any point can take a look and evaluate that visa and decide if they want to revoke it. And
he's a legal permanent resident. I have to keep insisting on it. He is a legal permanent resident. So what is the standard? Is any criticism of the Israeli government a deportable offense?
Like I said, I think that at this point, when he was entered into the country on a student visa, at any point we can go through and evaluate what his status is.
Oh my God, he is the chatters. He is the multiple chatters that are in my stream. He's looping. He's looping. He's doing it. He's doing what the chatters do. Oh my God. He's NPCing. Well, he's NPCing not because he's too dumb to do anything else. He's doing it because he knows that there's no grounds to deport him, so he has to keep obfuscating, which is a little bit different. Why doesn't he understand? I mean, he understands. Again, this guy, deputy secretary of the DHS. This guy understands these things very well. DHS official, just double checking that I didn't misremember this. Yeah, Deputy Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. And look, what does he do when she says, okay, wait, so, hey, actually, the allegation is that he organized protests and made speeches after which other people engaged in prohibited activity or violent activity. Well, Mr. Trump gave a political speech on January 6, 2021, after which some individuals engaged in violent and illegal acts. How is this different? He's a citizen. This person came in on a visa. No, he's a legal permanent resident. He is a legal permanent resident with a green card. He did not come in on a visa. So what's the standard? Any criticism of the Israeli government? Which he responds, like I said, at that point, he entered into the country on a student visa, just going back to student visa, just back to the visa, even though she literally said multiple times, wait, but he doesn't have a visa. It doesn't matter that he came in on a student visa. He doesn't have one. He is a legal permanent resident with a green card, which again, a green card is it's the path to citizenship. The next expected step is getting your citizenship as a green card holder.
Secretary of State.
Is any criticism of the United States government a deportable offense?
Like I said, if you go through the process and you're a student and you're here on a visa and you go through at any point.
Is any criticism of the government a deportable offense?
It's like I said, as a student, he comes to the United States on a student visa, applies. Well, let me put it this way, Michelle. Imagine if he came in and filled out the form and said, I want a student visa. They asked him, what are you going to do here? And he's like,
he was
I'm
a
going
student.
to go and protest and
so
join
is protest a deportable event?
We would never have let him into the country.
Is protesting a deportable offense?
Like I said, you're focused on protesting. I'm focused on the visa process. He went through a legal process.
Yeah, you're focused on the visa process because then you would have to actually address what she's saying. She's claiming, okay, wait, so you're saying that if he had come into the country saying that he wanted to protest, maybe you guys wouldn't have let him in. Is protesting bad? Is it bad that he protests? Can you deport someone for protesting? Listen, I don't know why you're so focused on this protesting thing. I'm focused on the visa thing, and we should be able to deport him if he has a visa. But he doesn't have a visa. He has a green card. He's a lawful permanent resident. Well, listen.
Are you saying that he lied on his application? He's a lawful permanent resident married to an American citizen.
I think if he would have declared he's a terrorist, we would have never let him in.
And what did he engage in that constitutes terrorist activity?
I mean, Michelle, have you watched it on TV? It's pretty clear.
Just appealing to people's fucking common sense, right? Because there is nothing that's pretty clear because they don't have anything.
No, it isn't. Well, explain it to those of us who have not, or perhaps others have not. What exactly did he do?
Well, I think it's clear, or we shouldn't be talking about it. I mean, the reality is that if you watch and see what he's done on the university.
Do you not know? Are you telling us that you're not aware? You don't know what he did? That
no,
is a portable offense?
No, I find it interesting that you're not aware.
I think you could explain it to us.
Oh my God. Dude, she is cooking him. Oh my God, she's frying, she's boiling, she's baking, she's broiling, she's poaching. Oh my fuck. Okay, so what terrorist activities did he do? He did, it's pretty clear if you watch it on TV. Well, what about the people who haven't watched it on TV? Can you tell us? I think it's clear we wouldn't be talking about it. Well, do you not know? Or are you telling us you don't know? Well, I think you don't. I think it's interesting that you don't know.
I think others would like to know exactly what the offenses are, what the propaganda was that you allege, what the activity was that you allege. Well, perhaps we can talk again and you can give us more details about this. And that's Department of Homeland Security Deputy Secretary Troy Edgar. Mr. Edgar, we really appreciate your coming to join us, and we do hope we'll talk again.
Thank you.
Listen, okay, this is my hottest take. This is like the thing that I think leftists hate the most about me. I actually really like NPR. I'm sorry. I think there are a lot of bad NPR segments, and NPR does a really... NPR really suffers when they pretend like Republicans have good talking points, but NPR really shines when Republicans lean hard into fascism. That's when NPR shines, when it's this stuff. When Republicans are going full fascism, they're very good at needling them on this. When Republicans hide behind decorum, that is when NPR struggles. That's when NPR really struggles. I think as long as you approach NPR with a leftist POV, they're good. They're good. I think their reporting is generally accurate. They don't misreport things. I think they just legitimize Republican talking points more than they should. It's a very liberal news network, but it's not a news network that fucking like lies to you in the way that or like manufactures consent at the level that CNN or MSNBC do. There's also a lot of different shows that they have on NPR. NPR isn't just like this one thing, this one monolith. They have a lot of cool, interesting, fun shows that they do that are very informative. So I like to, when I want to watch some and listen to some normie news, I listen to some NPR. Wait, don't tell me. I know people really like that one. I also like I like Planet Money. Planet Money has a lot of good that's my most liberal take. I like the Planet Money show. I haven't watched it in a little bit because I've been so busy, but yeah. Planet Money is good. Yeah, I think they changed the Planet Money host, and then I stopped listening as much because I was like, no, they took away my favorite hosts. So I haven't gotten back into it, but yeah, I do like it. Lib. Again, I think as long as you approach it knowing that they legitimize Republican talking points, the Republican decorum talking points, you can consume it pretty responsibly. But I like that they don't manufacture consent at the same level that fucking CNN does. I appreciate that a little bit, which is to be expected, right? Just given the funding, because CNN, MSNBC, it's just, God, the fucking Sinclair media shit.
When the Republicans talk about free speech, what they mean is, can we say slurs on the internet again?
Correct. Right.
Can we feel okay saying
can we
the
celebrate
R word?
Christmas?
I mean, really, that's what it is.